So I'm here with the legendary Colin McDowell. We haven't seen you in person for years. It's lovely to see you and see you well. And you've got a really nice booth here, and the whole APB hardware thing is going good. So what's up?
Well, it's great to see you too, Nick, in person. Yeah, new for the NAMM show is the KD-1. It's a new APB plugin that uses all the possibilities and flexibility of our programmable analog box, and it focuses on signal saturation. So if you want to, take your signal and drive it up and distort it a bunch or tame it down, you can mix the processed signal with the original signal. You can use forward wheel drive, rear wheel drive, or all wheel drive. Yes, kind of a car theme here, but the high frequencies, the low frequencies, all the frequencies. Then you can still additionally focus your saturation on a particular region of the spectrum with a focus amount. And we even have a kinetics knob to help you dial in some of that push and pull you get when you hit an amp too hard and the amp's trying to compress the signal but also bring it back up. Keep some of the dynamics going, not just saturate your signal. Sounds really great. In my totally biased opinion, it'll be free to all registered APB customers, and there you go.
Well, one of the things, I guess some people might not know about the whole APB kind of platform, but essentially we have here a big box of analog electronics that you can, it feels like programmable field gate array, but it's actually an analog with transistors and all that kind of thing. Am I anywhere near the mark there with that description?
That's pretty close to the mark. Yeah, it's analog. It's we got some fancy 32-bit converters to do the conversions on the front and the back. In the middle, we got WEMA caps, Burr Brown op amps, VCAs, all the stuff that you like to see in an analog system, but under the control of a software-based plugin. In addition to that, it's not just an analog box, it's a self-monitoring analog box. So like temperature, environment, it actually will maintain itself so that all the channels will perform equally. So whether you're on channel 1 of the APB16 or channel 15, your KD-1 plugin or whatever other plugin you bring up, it'll all sound the same.
So self-calibrate. So we got 16 channels of I/O on this box.
That's right.
And how many boxes can you have in a system should you need more?
Oh, good question. So the APB box itself is connected not over a hardware insert point, but just over a thunderbolt cable. And you can daisy chain up to 5 APB units in one thunderbolt connection. So that comes out to 5 times 18, 80 channels of analog processing and one thunderbolt cable. Total recall, automatable, controlled from a plugin. What's not to like?
No, I'm really curious about the topography though. So is it generally one plugin per channel, or are there more is there more power per channel to have, like more than one process, or how does that work?
Some algorithms lend themselves to it's just one per channel. Sometimes, like with the Royal Mu compressor, we folded a limiter and a compressor into one analog channel, so if you a single channel connection is doing compression and limiting and saturation, so sometimes we fold it together. In the case of this guy, this is the saturation plugin. It's solely using most of the saturation circuits of the APB, of which there are no less than 3 per channel, so it's definitely a one plugin per channel kind of box.
But I guess if you want to chain things, you could just go one into the other, and then...
Yeah, exactly, you can do that too. I mean, it's just like a plug. You insert it on a track or any track or several together, multi-mono stereo, just operates like any old plugin.
So one thing that I'm also curious about, so how does the audio here get to the audio there? Is that via analog, you would go out via an analog system or whatever your I/O is, or is it integrated?
Yeah, great question. Out of your computer, a Thunderbolt cable is all you need to go into the APB, and the same audio is delivered back to the same Thunderbolt cable. So
there's A to D and D to A in there as well.
Yes,
right?
there is. Those are also fancy 32-bit AKM converters, the best they possibly can make.
Oh, you managed to get some before the factory fire. Wow, well done. Yeah.
Sometimes hoarding is a good feature to have in someone's senses. So yeah, we have plenty of that stuff, and we really like that converter, and we have a lot of them.
Can we have a listen then? Let's see what this does.
Sure can. I'll start out bypass and I'll bring the plugin up. Here we go.
Oh, interesting. So what's the kinetics doing exactly?
Well, kinetics is like what your real analog circuit would really do, is that you don't really want that signal level to hit that saturation region. There's always a system in place to compress it a little bit, or to kind of react to the signal level as if you don't want that saturation to occur. Kind of like in a guitar amp, you get sort of like that compression or voltage sag, where the signal will kind of duck away and then kind of rise back up.
Right.
So kinetics is bringing some of that back into the response of the circuit you're using to saturate the signal. A little bit like compression, a little bit like sort of a push and pull, give you a little bit of dynamics, not just a saturation, but kind of like a something of this going on, just a little bit.
So what, would you use this on a 2-bus or that kind of thing? What would be your...
2-bus, drums, great on vocals, amazing on guitar actually. If you already have a saturated guitar signal, this thing on top of the saturation that's already there in the guitar, it does a great job of managing to get other types of tones you didn't get to record originally.
Right, so one other question is, you said this is it's free if you're already an owner of the APB16 or any of those systems.
That's right.
So how do people get hold of that stuff? I mean, there's a lot of analog electronics in this. I mean, I'm not expecting you to say, hey, it's $5.99. It's a decent amount of money to, but a lot of electronics, right?
Yeah, I mean, it comes out to about $500 a channel. So the APB8 is $399 US dollars, so $39.99.
Okay.
Right, and then the APB16 is like $6,999. So that's a bit, but that's also why we're giving people all these new plugins for free. As long as you register your purchase, we know who you are, we'll get you these new plugins as soon as they come out.
Nice one. And what's the round trip latency like with over the Firewire and 8
Good question. The round trip latency is about 2,000 samples for now, but the latency doesn't actually come from the processing in the box. That's nearly instant. It's the buffering up of all those different channels from any DAW. We have to get them all first. When we get them all collected, then we send them down. They're processed immediately. They come back, and they'll deliver them back to the DAW.
So there's delay compensation in most DAWs anyway.
Yeah,
right?
and delay compensation will take care of that. So it's easy enough for delay compensation to handle. Not quite good enough for tracking, but we'll work on that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nick.